We've all been focused on AI security for years, but what if we're asking the wrong question? What if the real flaw isn't how we protect our data, but how much we needlessly keep in the first place?
That's really the mission for this deep dive. We need a strategic reframing for leaders.
It seems to start with a pretty simple observation. Why are we spending millions to defend data we might not even need to retain?
Exactly. We see compounding AI risk, and we treat it like a security problem, a bigger lock, when it's fundamentally a governance decision about what you choose to own.
Right. Stored data isn't just an asset. It's a latent liability sitting right there on the balance sheet.
A massive one. Every prompt, every single interaction saved, it just expands your regulatory and reputational exposure. It's pure compounding risks.
So we need to address that persistence, and that brings us to zero data retention, or ZDR.
Okay, but it's crucial to say, ZDR is not an IP feature you just go and buy.
No, absolutely not. It's an architectural stance. It's a profound governance choice.
So explain that at a high level. What does a system like this actually do?
Conceptually, it's actually quite simple. Data exists only temporarily. Think ephemeral, volatile memory, just for a moment.
Just for a moment.
It's processed in real time to do its job, and then it's permanently deleted immediately. The whole system is architected to be stateless.
So you can't query historical data because
it was never saved. It doesn't exist.
I hear risk elimination, which sounds powerful. But you know our listeners are in highly regulated sectors. Retention is often a legal requirement for audits, for compliance. How does ZDR square with that?
That is the critical tension, and this is what it solves. ZDR is about risk elimination for data that you are not legally or operationally required to keep.
Ah, so you're carving out the unnecessary risk.
Precisely. Data that doesn't exist can't be breached. It can't be subpoenaed. It can't be misused. You structurally reduce your liability at the source, which gives you much tighter control over the data you actually do need to keep.
And that structural control, that feels like the massive governance shift here. Because traditional data retention locks you into these perpetual, expensive obligations.
Constantly securing, justifying, auditing, defending archives for decades.
Sometimes decades. ZDR completely flips that assumption. It changes the core question from how do we secure everything we store to, wait, why are we storing this at all?
Right. And by getting rid of that unnecessary persistence, you materially shrink the scope of what's subject to compliance. It aligns perfectly with principles like data minimization, just by design, from the ground up.
So this goes way beyond just reducing operational costs. This lands squarely at the board level. It's about executive accountability.
It has to. It changes the executive question from can we manage our AI risk to a much more powerful one. Can we eliminate unnecessary AI risk entirely? And that's not a technical decision.
No, it's a deliberate leadership decision. The value is strategic. It gives you a competitive advantage. It builds brand integrity through architecture. It's proof, not promises. The technical teams implement it, but leadership owns the risk profile.
Okay. So for the leaders listening, running complex global organizations, we know that time is their scarcest resource. And we should be clear, this conversation is intentionally incomplete.
Yes, very intentionally. We've outlined the critical why and the high-level what. We're providing the strategic overview because, frankly, leadership teams don't have the time to research and design these governance models from scratch.
Nor should they have to. And that's why we want to state explicitly that the in-depth resources, the comprehensive frameworks, the playbooks, the guides needed to actually implement this, they've been developed by Julisha Solutions.
And they're available via the links provided with this deep dive.
This conversation is designed to start the process, to introduce this idea of intentional restraint. The detailed roadmaps are already there for you to leverage when you're ready.
So as you go into your next leadership discussion, maybe ask 3 questions. First, what data does your organization retain simply by default, without a clear active business requirement?
And second, what specific class of risk, legal, reputational, whatever, just disappears when that data no longer exists tomorrow?
And finally, what changes about your organization's capability, its agility, when governance comes before architecture?
For leaders who want the full picture, the deeper frameworks are already available. But this essential conversation about intentional restraint, it has to start right here.